This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Jay's Pack, Sex Caliber, Bones a Lot, Madeline, Edward, Sunzi, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Boezy, Jeremy, Allie, Mr. Ragebomb, Libby, Wes, Driscoll, Aaron, Kristen, Tia, Jonathan, Kate, Isaac, and Karoon. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome horror virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we hang out daily.
Dig through Keanu and work through Anthony Hopkins, and Winona's also hearing this Dracula.
I love that she can't do it. Like she
I can't
aggressively
fucking do it.
cannot
I can't
sing
do it.
like Rob Zombie. She fucks what looks like a werewolf in this movie, and then I was told later by Natalie that was supposed to be Dracula.
That's correct.
It's ironic though, because it was missionary.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, and sometimes you guys make me watch them, but this week you didn't. You made me watch what I think would be like a 13-year-old horny version of a 1900s young adult novel, and that is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah,
Bram
that's right.
Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, is that how you say it?
Not this one. This film feels like if Tumblr made its own movie.
Well, here's my frustration with this movie. Although I don't hate that Tumblr comparison, because that is accurate. Visually, this movie is very interesting. This is also the closest to the book of like any Dracula adaptation, which is
Paige.
Fucking wild.
Yeah, of course it's closest to the book.
They were like, let's do the book as is and then just add HBO levels of sex into it. How does that sound? And normally I would be like, 100%, I back you completely. I believe in your vision. But then this is what comes out of it. And I'm like, oh no, wait, I mean, what? No.
I do think that this has like all the hallmarks of a Mikey movie though, because
yes,
it is like a bunch of famous people doing what they're famous for and just failing at it super hard.
But they are all giving 150%. And I do respect them for that.
Yeah, they are.
They swing hard.
They swing so hard.
I know a lot of people, they tag me and stuff. They DM and they're like, is this a Mikey movie? And then I don't respond because like, I don't have the time. But in my mind, I say, no, it's not. Because a four-headed shark is not a Mikey movie. A Mikey movie mostly is a movie that doesn't want to be bad. It wants to be good.
Yes.
And then it ends up being bad in a good way. And this fits.
That's the key to Mikey movies is sincerity.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The earnestness at which you tried to make a good movie and failed in a fun way.
I think the only person who knows how bad shit this movie is Sir Anthony Hopkins. Because if you rewatch it, he is like fully aware. He's like,
he
this
goes
movie,
full Pope's Exorcist for the whole third act.
It's amazing. It is awesome.
I fucking love it.
I was like, oh, he knows. He knows this is shit. Keanu Reeves, I think he was kidnapped and forced to do this movie. Like, he looks scared throughout the whole thing.
The whole thing.
I don't think he meant to do it.
I think the whole time he's looking for Bill to be like, I don't know if I can convince Dracula to come back with us to the future, bruh.
I don't think he could convince Dracula he's British, and that's the base level of what he's trying to do in this movie.
How pissed would you have been if you were Carrie Elwes in this movie? Like, you could have been the very British husband who does everything he can to save his wife. But no.
I know.
You have to watch a surfer from California chew up and spit out a British accent all movie.
Which one was he? Was he the cowboy or the other one?
No. Carrie Elwes was the one that she was actually going to marry, the one that gives blood. And this is only 5 years after Princess Bride. So this is like peak Carrie Elwes hotnessness. This is the best era for it. And they don't even give him a fucking close-up. And I was like, how fucking dare you, Francis Ford Coppola, robbing our eyes? Like, what are you doing?
But like, I mixed him and the other guy up, the cowboy who died or whatever. Like,
yeah, I just called him Tex in my notes, which I think his name is Quincy.
I think it is Quincy, yeah, but Tex is probably just as good.
Yeah, right?
If there are any problems with this film,
If
it seems a bit unfocused a bit on where it's going at times.
Sure.
And I think they cut out some things or edited. They made some.
Unfortunately, they did not cut out things, and that's part of the problem.
I would have picked maybe a couple of the characters to like really stick through instead of like all 20 of them.
I love that legit 5 or 6 people get voiceovers in this.
Yes.
I was like, what is happening? Now we're getting Winona's voiceover?
I can actually explain some of that. Like that is a book thing, like specifically because a lot of Bram Stoker's Dracula is written in letters and journals. So like that's what it's trying to do. But here's the thing, whenever you adapt a book or anything, and I know every time a book gets adapted, people are going to be like, oh, I wish this part was in it. I wish that part was in it because it was my favorite part reading the book. The experience of reading a book is very, very different than watching a movie.
It's a whole different medium.
It's a whole different medium. And the medium of film really does give you a chance to streamline some of those stories, because a lot of what you lose are things like the character's internal monologue and like the things that they're thinking and additional stories that pad out the page count. And so like, I do think you could have done a more streamlined version of this that is still authentic to the book, because this is overly authentic to the book in some ways. In other ways, not so much. Like the book didn't have as much of a love story between Mina and Dracula. Like that's not really a thing in the book. That's added. Book? No.
Because Mina was full on board for Dracula. Like she was coming for the D.
Yeah, no, the book is much more about, so like, you know, Jonathan goes over, he is kind of a prisoner and he comes back as Dracula comes back. And Dracula's kind of like haunting around London. And he does target Lucy. That's all the same.
Yeah, because he's a fuckboy.
Right. And part of it is like revenge for Jonathan. Like it's more tied to Jonathan than it is her being like in love with him.
That's what I thought. But, you know, where would this film be without creeping shadows and Gary Oldman's eyes looking at her from every angle and sky?
I do love the shadows.
I like the silent film kind of treatment it does on some of this stuff.
It feels very silent film. You're right.
I do love that.
But it's also like silent film meets Gary Oldman just walked off the set of Deep Space Nine. So like it is sort of, you know, campy in a way that I was here for. Guys, I liked this movie. We bought this movie tonight.
I did too. I'm not ashamed.
Hell yeah.
I did not buy it. I didn't, because I knew what I was in for. I do feel like this movie borrows heavily from both silent film cinema and kind of classic Universal monster cinema, and even a little bit of 70s giallo in its color work and some of its in-camera effects, which a lot of which are practical, by the way. And it gives it a real wild look. I do love it. I love the look of this movie. I love how over the top it is. I just wish they would have cut 30 minutes out of it. And they absolutely could have, and they could have done it just in cutting down the slow, sweeping, establishing shots.
I know. There's so much of that, Paige.
Yes. But I do, like, this movie doesn't look like anything else. And I give it credit for that, because you could have very easily, in 1992, done an Interview with a Vampire style Dracula, and instead they were like...
That came out 2 years after this, Paige. It's the same era, more or less.
I know, but like that's what I'm saying. You could have done it that way.
Yeah.
That's what I think people would have expected. And instead, this movie was like, what if we all took Quaaludes? Like, let's all do hallucinogens, put all the fun gels on the lights, and let's just make shadows move. Like, let's fucking go. Let's give him a weird butt for a hairdo, and let's fucking go. And I'm kind of here for that. I'm here for weird.
It is weird. His medieval armor looks just like an anus.
It's like muscles. It looks like muscles, like fiber muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like definitely historically accurate.
I mean, dude, he stabs a stone cross and it shinings blood all over the room. How are you not here for that? Like,
well, that's the key to eternal life, Paige. All you gotta do is go to church with a sword, stab the cross, say you renounce God, then drink the blood that pours from the cross. Boom, your eternal life.
I mean, that's in the first 5 minutes of this film.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Had he done that before? Because he does all of this with the confidence that he knows if he stabs that, it's going to shoot blood. And if he drinks it, he becomes a vampire.
No. Mm-mm. And that's not even in the book either.
So he just yes-ands himself into eternal life of hell and damnation?
Yes. And Todd, again, that's not even in the book. That's a made-up part for this movie.
Okay, you know what though, Paige? Nailed it. I loved it. I was like, oh wow, that is one fuck of a cold open.
I know. I was watching it and I was like, you know what? Sometimes additions are a good thing.
Yeah, because like, in the book, he's just like the mysterious count, right? Or whatever.
Yes, you don't get his origin story. And the book is largely told through the perspective of Jonathan, which is what's so weird in this movie, that Jonathan has such a small role.
I know.
Like, Keanu Reeves is in like 5 scenes of this weird 2-hour plus epic.
It's bizarre. Yeah.
It's real bizarre.
But it was very sexy. It was like watching HBO after 9 p.m. kind of feeling here.
Don't hate it.
But it was absolutely batshit insane. I don't know about it. I just don't know about it. There was a lot of moaning, just like so much moaning.
And at weird times, you know? Like,
yeah, act 1.5, up to halfway through this movie, I'm on board 110%. I'm like, more crazy colors, more orgasm murders, weird wolfmen, you know, skunk ape nonsense. Let's do it. But then when it's like, it's a carriage race between a bunch of people we don't care about, but I'm trying to care, then I'm like, I'm not so much in it. But up until that point, super here for the crazy.
It had you.
It had
I mean, I was here for the crazy the whole time. I mean, I did hella eye roll at the end when I don't know what happens, guys. Like, God like forgives Dracula or whatever. Like,
her love saved him.
It's the duality of life and death.
Well, okay. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. So she was like, you know what? My soul is the same soul of that chick from back then. I did throw myself down. I do love you. Then he's like, come be my bride forever. Then he's like, wait a minute. I'm actually doing a lot of like self-work, you know, like working on myself. And this is actually a really shitty life. I don't want to turn you into a vampire. And then she's like, my love for you, I will kill you so you can go away. And then it ends.
Okay. That was word salad.
I honestly think he was close, if not nailing it, right? The whole time.
Close.
Thank you.
Very,
Yeah.
very
Thank you.
close.
Yeah.
Unintelligible, but close.
It's not word salad. That's literally what happened, but it's bad.
So this movie, it bookends, right? So in the early point, it's their love, and that's the whole thing that drives him to anger and drives him to stab that stone cross and shoot blood all over everything.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it is also that love, flawed though this may be, because she is a completely different person. And I think that any belief that she is the same person is part of his mind control. But anyway, so like, it is also his love that leads him to not force her to stay and to rather find his peace in death, which is what maybe he should have done in his human life. And so the bookending of it is, first it's him over her dead body, which is in that skyline, you know, glass art.
The relief at the end.
Yeah, shining down on them in the reverse of her now holding him, allowing him to leave in peace. And then I would imagine she would go on to live the rest of her life. Although I'm pretty sure Keanu Reeves and her are going to have a lot to talk about, as she's just like, so I know I cheated on you with literal Dracula.
I mean, I don't think they have a lot to talk about outside of good luck with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I'll be taking the train back to England. I'd appreciate it if you don't leave till tomorrow.
No way, man. He's in it to win it. As unhealthy as it is, he's not chasing Dracula back to Transylvania unless he is going for that sweet piece. You know what I'm saying?
That sweet piece.
Well, and that's part of the thing in the book. There's not really a relationship between her and Dracula. Like, she gets bit, like she gets infected or whatever, but like it's not a love thing. And so it's him trying to save the woman he loves. But again, that book is primarily from that character's perspective, and this movie really is not. So even though it is one of the closest storyline wise to the book, it shifts the perspective
a lot
in some weird ways. Yeah.
Because like there's a good 30 minutes where it's like Jane Austen's I'm bored in London, please vampire fuck me.
Yeah, in this movie, yeah, a lot.
I've read that one though. It is a page turner. It's my favorite Austen novel.
Honestly, you know how they made The Last Voyage of the Demeter about the one chapter of that boat?
Yeah.
I want just the Lady Chatterley's vampire lover of the middle of this movie.
Paige, that book exists in many different forms, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate when I'm laying in bed and women just come out of the sheets.
And one of them seems to be attached to another one at the lady parts.
It's called a threesome, Page.
I mean, yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called lady parts. There's a lady in there. Duh. Have you been to health class?
Not in many years, because I'm an adult.
Did you guys not? Okay, I have a question. I'll just ask it like this. Why does Dracula have to take a boat? Like, I feel like a train would be just as safe, if not more safe, than a boat for Dracula.
He likes boats, man. He's a sailor.
I actually have answers for this. Okay. He has to travel with his ancestral soil, right? Which means that he has to travel in the cargo hold, which in theory he could do in a train. Although a cargo hold in a ship is likely not going to be exposed to light and is going to be undisturbed for the bulk of the boat ride. And even if the boat sank, he'd still be with the ancestral soil and he could actually still survive that. But if a train burned him in the ancestral soil, he probably wouldn't survive that.
But he can, when he's in London, he just walks the fuck around. Does he have like soil in his shoes and that lets him walk around? Like, none of that makes sense at all.
He has to rest in his ancestral soil.
I think the movie implies that the people who run the boat are like his henchmen or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's got that little army.
Not all of them, because he feeds on the crew, which is the other thing too. I think it would probably be a little more difficult to feed on people on a train than it is on the boat.
Yeah, it's true.
Because he feeds on the crew. The crew is his snack all the way.
I don't know, man. People get on and off a train every stop.
Yeah, but they'll probably be like, somebody's eating people on this train. We got to like, let's see what's up. Stop the train.
Yeah.
Or they would just think that person got off the train. Just isolate the Mikey, the sad single one, and then bite him on the neck and kick him off.
I think it's harder to isolate people on a train.
It's true. It's very public.
Just given the way a train works, like unless you have cabins, I guess, it's kind of, whereas the boat, they can't get off the boat. They all stuck there. Even if you are eating people, you're their snacks. You're in the middle of the fucking ocean.
That is true. I'm just saying he probably could have beat them home, is all I'm saying.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did like that the end of this becomes like a race around the globe.
Yeah.
That was sort of fun. That we got, like a 1960s train set miniature shots of. It was great.
Yeah, I did kind of like the miniatures. I know it's weird. I like the miniatures. I like the shadow puppets. I'm here for it.
No, I was here for the shadow puppets too. It feels very silent era, and it feels very intentional. Like if it didn't feel intentional, I probably wouldn't like it. I think they are paying homage to those silent films. Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's a deliberate style choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet some people were really pissed when they got to the theater and saw that style choice.
Oh, I bet a lot of people were upset. Yeah, Mikey.
Like the battle scene being shadow puppet. I bet they're like, what the fuck?
See, I fucking love that shit.
I know you do. I liked it, but I can you imagine like the common moviegoer going in like 90s to go see this?
I mean, it is a fucking choice. Like everything in this movie is a choice.
They swung so hard on so many like make or break things for this movie.
Yeah.
And they chose wrong every time. And I respect the commitment to that.
Except that this movie is crazy famous. Yeah, maybe they chose wrong, or maybe they chose exactly right, baby. Like, who knows? I mean, right?
Listen,
people remember it.
And Paige, this made shitloads of money. So, I think they did it right.
I mean, I'm curious to see how box office is.
Yeah, this was like a thing back in the day. People love this movie. I think didn't Gary Oldman get nominated for this?
Oh, God, I hope not.
The 90s was such a wild time.
Was this the year there was only one movie?
I think he played the best acting of the group.
Oh, Mikey, yes.
He did not receive an Oscar nomination. Okay, he didn't, but there was a lot of buzz at the time where they thought he might, but he did not.
Mikey, he is by far the best actor on screen, and the scenes where it's just him and Keanu are like so funny.
Yes.
Because there is a person on film who is just becoming Dracula.
Yeah.
And they are acting across from someone who has never acted a day in their life. And it is amazing.
It is wild.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably like, what the fuck did I decide to do this movie for?
I do feel like you see the regret in Keanu's eyes.
I think it grows throughout the film. Like, he comes hard, and then obviously he's like, they changed it where I only have 4 scenes now, so I don't really give a shit about what's happening here.
And apparently they didn't. Like, that was the script from, like, day uno. Like, I'll burn a fun fact. So Francis Ford Coppola went all out on this, and so he worked with the script basically as they were developing it, and he made all of the principal actors and actresses read the entire Bram Stoker novel out loud for their first 2 days of production.
Gross.
And yeah, according to Anthony Hopkins, it took 2 whole days to complete. And now I say this as someone who has read that book, and it is a very good book. I liked it. That sounds like the worst part of high school or junior high, and I'm not here for it. And also, pro tip, read The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, because that's a not quite as long, easier read, really fun vampire book.
But that's not the one Francis Ford fucking Coppola assigned you to read aloud in your trailer, I guess?
Yeah, he's the director, like the principal.
Anyway, that, and he very, very much wanted this to be a Dracula-driven movie. Like, that's why it's called Dracula. And so Gary Oldman, when he first read the script, said that he decided to do it just because of the dialogue that Dracula had. It was so crazy. He said he wanted to know what it would feel like to say, "I've crossed oceans of time to find you," to somebody.
And we all found out in this movie.
We did indeed.
I feel like this movie turned so many like 13-year-old girls into goths like back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Or at least horny for sensitive, quiet types.
Gary Oldman is not what I would call the sensitive, quiet type in this film.
Yeah, I don't know which one you're referring to when you say sensitive, quiet in this movie.
Jonathan is.
Well, Jonathan is. I'm like, Keanu was the heartthrob.
He's up whispering with her. And every other scene, he's like, "It's a Gary Oldman."
Yeah, no, for sure. 100. But like when he's with her, he's just like, "Remember, you're my princess. Remember the flowers and the whatever." And she's just like, "Oh."
Okay, but is she Elizabeth? Is she
reincarnated?
Yes.
Yeah, is she reincarnated or is this a mind trick?
That's the question. Because I don't think she's Elizabeta. I don't think she is.
You could read it both ways, right? On the one hand, I think that he specifically sought out Jonathan to find her, right?
Yeah, it's almost weird when one person goes from one woman to the other that look really eerily similar and only dates one type of visual person.
It's not that weird. People have types.
Yeah.
It's not that weird.
This is a joke aimed at both of you.
Whatever. We're happily in relationships and get to have sex whenever we want. Joke's on us, I guess.
Into it. I don't care. Yeah.
So my question at that point is, did he track her down because he's been waiting for a reincarnation?
Yes. He has been waiting across oceans of time, Paige.
Oceans of time. So, but then the question is, she only seems to know or think or understand about this once he starts talking to her about it. And we know that he has mind-altering elements to his powers. That's part of the vampire's arsenal.
I agree with everything you're saying, yes. I don't think she is.
No. Yeah, I err on the side of she is not the reincarnated version of his love. She is someone who looks very much like her, and that he has kind of glamoured.
He's like vamp lighting her into believing it or whatever because he has the mind control stuff.
No, but I don't think he did not go to London because of her. He was going to London before he knew about her.
Yes.
Because he wanted to get to the cosmopolitan life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then he saw her picture.
I mean, that's why he was buying all that property, right?
Yeah.
So that's the question, chicken or the egg, because again, this element is not in the book, so this is something we have to theorize from the film. Jonathan is specifically requested to go.
Yes.
Which to me suggests that maybe Renfield told him about Mina or something that made him deliberately request him so he could keep him in prison and he'd be out of the way when he got to London.
I thought he wasn't super interested in Jonathan until that photo came out.
What are the odds, though? Like, that's my thing is like, what are the odds that, you know, the person he would call to help plan this thing would also have the one thing that he wants when he gets there, unless he pre-planned that portion of it, which we know he had Renfield. So Renfield could have given him that information.
Sure.
So that could have been a part of it. It just seems weirdly serendipitous if that's not part of the plan somehow.
I don't think it was part of the plan. And it got him killed because he went off plan.
The things you do for love, Mikey. I mean, Mikey, all I learned by watching this movie is you shouldn't try and go after another man's wife because then she'll stab you and you'll choose peace, aka death.
Not unless they're the reincarnated copy of my ex. Also, if my harem gets boring or whatever, you have to have a lot of pieces falling into place there.
I did like that the vampire harem is in this, much like Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing that also has the vampire harem.
Does the Hugh Jackman want to have hairy palms?
No, but it does have Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing, so like there's that. That's fun to watch.
He'll never be as good as Anthony Hopkins, Paige. Never.
It's Wolverine. Don't slander Wolverine.
I like that Anthony Hopkins pretty much implies that there's other vampires, but this is like a specific one because he's like, oh, this is a vampire.
Yeah.
Done. Figured it out. So Dracula wasn't the first vampire. Other people have stabbed their sword in a cross and drank the blood that comes out of it before.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, because it's not the book doesn't cover his origins.
Before we get into it, what's your favorite? Because I have my own that I will share for like a really unpopular Dracula film. But what is your favorite vampire origin story, if you have one?
Oh, fully Interview with a Vampire. They like float into the sky. It's like the most homoerotic thing ever.
No. Not the Who Turn You. How do vampires exist origin story.
Oh, okay.
Because I also know that with Interview with the Vampire, and that's also a wild story as well.
I don't know it with that one, but
I do love the True Blood one where you have to be buried and spend the night in the grave with somebody, and then you get dug up the next day and you're a vampire. And sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But I love it because people come out of the soil all the time just like, ugh, this ruined my shirt. It's like very practically funny, but
like I like the Stored in the Stone, but like there's a little known film called Dracula 2000.
Oh, I've seen Dracula 2000.
And Todd, you'd like this. Dracula is actually Judas, and vampirism is a curse that Judas got after he betrayed Jesus.
Oh my God, I have to watch this film immediately. This sounds amazing. I hope the 30 pieces of silver make a cameo. Like, I can't wait.
He talks about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why silver hurts him, Todd.
Yeah, that's why silver hurts vampires. Yeah.
Oh my God, you just blew my fucking mind. I had to remind myself to say something because that's how hard my mind was blown.
No, and like the movie's not great, but I thought that was like a really interesting take on where vampires came from.
I love that.
But Dracula 2000 is aggressively the year. It's like The Matrix mixed with Dracula.
Love it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, what was the one we watched? Queen of the Damned. It's that. It's that level of weirdness and badness.
Vampires were very hot in the 90s, yes.
Very into nu metal.
Ugh, gross.
Or at least the early 2000s, hence the name Dracula 2000.
Mikey, if I could answer your question, I would say, and I haven't seen it, but I bet the origin story for like the Underworld series is fucking bonkers. So I'm going to say that one.
Blade, none of us brought up Blade and the whole thing that vampires can be just fucking born that we talked about like ad nauseum last time.
We didn't talk about just that. We talked about vampire pregnancy. And I was going to bring that up. Like if Bram Stoker's Dracula strokes up into her Bram.
This one's Stoker.
Like how long does it take for a baby to make? That's my question, Paige.
I don't know.
Okay, what I did like about this vampire, he can walk in the day. His powers are like fucking X-Men style. He has a lot of powers.
Oh, yes.
I believe he can eat real food as well.
He can call about the wind.
He did pretty good.
No, you never see him eat. Specifically, he watches other people eat, but he personally does not eat.
Well, he eats people or blood. He drinks blood. But yeah, he doesn't eat food. But he does get to wear some of the coolest fucking sunglasses like 1896 London ever fucking saw.
Very true. And he's rocking that monochrome look.
Oof. So 90s.
Yeah.
But do you guys want to go through this movie scene by scene?
Yes, please.
Let's do it.
We'll start with the cold open. It's 1462. Constantinople has fallen. It's the middle of the Crusades. If you want more information about this time, listen to the Behind the Bastards on Dracula that just came out.
Literally.
That goes over all of this.
Yeah.
And how this movie gets a lot of it wrong. But basically, it's the Order of the Dragon and how that gets established, whatever. So
yeah,
he is a conqueror and impaler of sorts, and he goes out to fight this huge battle, and he wins, and it's an unlikely win. But as part of the battle, somebody told his wife that he had already lost and died.
Shot an arrow with a note. Killed your husband.
Yeah. Woo. Killed your husband.
Yeah. It was the retreating Turks. Like, that is such a level of petty that I loved. I was like, hell yes. On your way, running away from a battle you just lost, you prank the general's wife and then she kills herself. Like, you got to be like, this is terrible, but like jackpot, right?
Right.
Like, no way that worked.
No way that worked. But she reads it and is like, oh no, I'm definitely going to believe this note and not wait for confirmation. And jumps off the castle into the river. Ophelia style, and she dead.
Yeah, full on Ophelia.
Yeah, he comes home. She's dead on the altar in the chapel in the castle, and he's just like, no, Padme, no!
But he's still wearing his like huge, muscly armor. It's so bad. I love it so much.
Yeah, and the priests are like, hey, she killed herself, so she can't go to heaven. Which, by the way, is only the case in certain parts of Christianity, not all and not even most.
Catholicism, though.
Well, but they aren't Catholics necessarily because they're part of the Byzantine Empire. So, like, it's still schism times. They might still believe it, but, like, there's a lot of difference between them and what we would consider current Catholics. Anyway, he's just like, no! And so he stabs that stone cross. Blood explodes everywhere. He drinks a bunch of it, and he's just like, Jesus has blood, and that's why he's got power, because blood is power and life, and it shall be mine, and I drink it. And then he just says, no! And end cold open. We learned so much and also nothing at the same time.
It goes to title card.
Yeah, just slap title card. Yeah.
Church is never this interesting when I go.
No. And I'll say this, if it was, I'd still be there. I love this. This shit was nuts.
It was.
And then Paige to throw up a title card as if to say, I know I fucking nailed that cold open. After what we saw.
Yeah. It's like, I know you want more.
God damn it. The audacity of it all. I loved it. It was amazing.
Anyway, we cut to London, 1897, 4 centuries later. And we see Renfield, played by Tom Waits, who is eating bugs, much like the Nicholas Hoult version, which I thought was fun. And he was just like, they think he's unfortunately mentally ill. So they have locked him away.
Yes.
While he eats bugs and is like, the preparations are in order, master. It's great. Love it.
He pulls a real Mikey when he's in his jail cell and he eats a bunch of bugs.
Well, just open-minded, dude. I was promised eternal life at that vendor.
Mikey was promised eternal life if he could eat 20 seasoned crickets.
And I did.
But you only got to like 14, bro.
I don't know, man. I think it might have been north of 20.
You might have eaten 20. You might have eaten 20. My favorite part was you were too drunk to experience this, and Todd was taking care of Natalie.
Who was also drunk.
Who was also very drunk. You had left a bunch of crickets on the table, and one of the event organizer ladies came to wipe the table down.
Oh, I remember that. She was like, what the fuck?
And she freaked the fuck out. She was like, oh! And I was like, they're cooked. And she was like, is that better?
And we were like, we don't think so, but he loves them.
I don't know. He ate a bunch of them.
Y'all are so close-minded to other cultures. Like, I'm so tired of being the open-minded one on this podcast.
Sure. You're the open-minded one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you ate crickets.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a very tangibly open-minded thing to do.
You know what? I'll remember this the next time we discuss any sex position that's not missionary.
I like other positions.
As long as you're not on top.
That is missionary. What are you talking about?
I know. I'm just saying, this is the only other positions you like are ones where you don't have to fucking work.
You can't have it both ways, Paige, on this insult.
Anyway, Renfield's deranged. Dracula's buying up a bunch of property. And the company that used to employ Renfield, that does employ Jonathan Harker, is now going to send Jonathan to go talk to Dracula because apparently they don't allow remote work where he's from. So he has to go to Transylvania.
You couldn't even make a phone call back in this day, Paige. They definitely couldn't have done this remote.
Yeah, well, you could have mailed it back and forth because all he has to have him do is sign paperwork.
Which is nuts, right?
Yeah.
How much would your life suck if it was like, hey, you're like the lowest man on the totem pole, so you have to go on this 6-day journey or whatever to get someone to sign papers. And then, he doesn't do this, but I guess he was planning on immediately coming back.
Yeah. When's your flight to Florida?
That's not what he's doing in Florida.
I'm doing much more than just getting someone to sign something and come back for sure.
Yeah.
He's networking.
Yeah.
He's networking in Transylvania.
That's what he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Except it would have been better if he had brought an actual net to capture actual Dracula. Networking. No, it's fine. Anyway, so he goes out to Transylvania. But before he goes, he has to stop and tell Winona Ryder that she's going to have to wait for them to get married until he gets back. And they kiss, and I couldn't think of the word for it. So my note just says peacock leaf. But it's feathers. It's peacock feathers in front of the camera. And it's a practical effect, but I was just like...
So it does look like a leaf.
Right? Thank you. I was like, peacock leaves. And I was like, Paige, that makes no sense.
I love this, though, because this was I really think the first 20 or 25 second dissolve I've seen in a long time. And it does the dissolve from what I would say is the eye of the peacock leaf.
Yes.
And that becomes the tunnel of the train, which, listen, I thought that was cool as shit. I was here for it.
Cool as shit.
But I also think they did more than just kiss before he left. And that's why we got peacocked and we couldn't see it. We got peacock blocked.
They needed the leaves for their privacy, the peacock leaves.
Exactly.
You think they were banging?
No, I don't.
I don't think so.
Based on her reactions later.
I don't think they had full-on sex. I think there was some heavy petting on some level.
I don't. She was, her voiceover gives it away, you know? She's like, I wish I could be more open with the men's.
Yeah, we've only just kissed. Yeah, she does say later that they've only kissed.
What a prude.
Wait, who's our kill, screw, or marry for this episode? Or do we want to wait till we get further into it?
I don't want to chance it. Gary Oldman's already dead.
Gary Oldman's not dead.
Yet.
Who are the three? There's too many.
But that just means you could pick multiple sets of 3. Like, I could have a set of 3 and you could have a set of 3.
That would require Mikey to know more than 3 names of characters.
We're going to do the 3 dudes. We're going to do Keanu Reeves. We're going to do Sir Anthony Hopkins. And we're going to do Gary Oldman. Go.
Fine. I'm going to kill Gary Oldman.
Okay.
I'm going to have sex with Sir Anthony Hopkins because, of course, and I'll marry Keanu.
In the film, you're going to marry Jonathan?
Yeah, of course. He's not a vampire.
He's so lame.
I do like how later in the movie he's various stages of salt and pepper.
It's because the torture at the vampire's castle has aged him. They don't really talk about it in the film, but in the book, that's a thing.
No. I understand that. But it is always a different shade of salt and pepper.
A different wig every time.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Sometimes they were liberal with the white hairspray. Sometimes they weren't.
Sometimes they don't do it at all, even though it's late in the film. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm going to switch to, I'm going to murder Jonathan because he's just like any other #basic 18th century white guy.
Yeah, he's not a vampire and not a crazy old man killing vampires.
Fuck Anthony Hopkins as
Right,
Van
of course.
Helsing because Van Helsing's
All
got some crazy,
night long.
yeah. Got to marry Gary Oldman, man. He's like he's like a huge landowner, owns 10 houses in London.
Vampire, though.
You could live forever. He has a harem. He puts his eyes in the sky and stuff. He always knows what the weather is. He's got a lot of stuff going for him.
There's a lot in that pro column. Only one negative. Vampire. I certainly would not want to live in that castle. I'll just say that.
If I get bored, I'll go find the reincarnated woman who looks like my ex, trick her into thinking she is my ex, and have her murder me.
He was literally gonna go play Fuckboy Island on England.
100%.
And it just so happened that his new Renfield, like his soon-to-be wife, looked just like my last Slam piece. Like, that is all we're watching in this movie, and honestly, loved it.
Well, great. That only took us 52 minutes.
I really connected with it. He can turn to mist and ghost them.
I know. Sex mist.
Not to get us off track anymore, but I will say the coolest effect, I think, is when he turned into the pile of rats and fell down. And, like, that was pretty cool.
Loved it, Mikey.
Oh, yeah, the Rat King. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets to Transylvania, and the carriage will only take him so far. And the people in the carriage are like, here's a crucifix. God be with you. We're getting the fuck out of here because that's fucking Dracula. And then Dracula's carriage shows up. And a thing that happens in this movie is Dracula seems to just float everywhere, which is kind of fun, regardless of what form he's in.
Roll me on a dolly, Satan, I am Dracula. Like, I loved it.
Well, and in this one, the carriage pulls up and it just kind of grabs Keanu Reeves and like orbs him into the carriage. And he's just like, what? I know Kung Fu. And just like into the carriage.
He's like, Bill, what is happening to me?
So great.
He is a god. Do not make fun.
I love that it really is just Ted doing a bad British impression.
Yes.
And I loved it.
It's wild.
They don't give him much to do, though. Like
They don't.
I thought I'd notice it more, but he's like, oh, a carriage.
And I love Keanu Reeves. I think he's great, but his acting in this movie is suspect at best.
Of course. Anyway, so they go up to the castle, right? And Count Dracula shows up and is just like, welcome to my house, with his crazy butt hair and his train that puts wedding dresses to shame. And he just walks around in his house.
Man, I would hate walking around in that because that shit was heavy.
Oh, for sure. But I think my version of this is there are a couple of companies that basically sells fancy sheer robes for women who've murdered their husbands. Like that kind of just like, who, me? You want to interview me about the murder of my husband? With like the, fancy boas on the sleeves and shit.
The femme fatale in like a LA noir style. Yeah,
yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Oh, my house is marble. My entire house is marble. Like that kind of a lady. And I desperately want one. Look at me and my pointy nipples. Like that kind of a lady. That's
yeah.
And I desperately want one of those robes. And I think that's my version of the Dracula robe.
Okay.
Dracula is serving us just murdered my husband realness with this robe, folks.
Yeah. Dracula's late for his shift. His serving shift at the cunt factory.
Oh, boy.
Get to work, bitch. Yes.
Gary Oldman with the butt hair dancing away, like, just insane.
Oh,
Love it.
see, and he pops that butt wig off to have another wig reveal underneath.
Oh my
See, this
God.
could have been a way better movie.
Nobody expects the Dracula double wig reveal.
Yeah. No one expects him to undead drop as he does a wig reveal.
He takes it off. There's just snakes under there like Medusa.
Snakes.
Dracula is making me live right now, baby.
Oh, yeah. Also, he's like friends with all the wolves and stuff. Another point for marrying Dracula.
I do like the wolves. That's the one thing that's in the pro column for me is friend of wolves.
Here for it, yeah.
I like wolves.
Yeah, same.
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
They're like big scary dogs. I like them. Anyway, so they sit down and have a very uncomfortable dinner where Dracula doesn't eat anything. And he's like, yeah, that was my ancestor who's the Order of the Dragon. And he's like starting to tell the story. And he's like, we weren't very successful, referring to the Crusades. And Keanu Reeves' character's like, yeah, no shit. And he's like, excuse you? I'm about to stab you for making fun of the Crusade.
Dude, he like loses his mind, pulls a sword on Keanu Reeves. Like he loses his mind more than someone who was just an ancestor of the person who fought in the Crusades would do.
Yeah.
I get it. Growing up in the South, this is kind of like how some people talk about the Civil War, and then you learn very quickly to like
Mikey.
avoid them.
Yeah.
That is a good comparison.
My great-great-grandpappy died at Gettysburg, and I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go, because, like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is the point where he was like, I'm gonna fuck this guy's wife because he's making fun of my war. And, like, it just was a coincidence that it looked like his ex.
Absolutely, I love it. I love that reading of this, and yes, that is what happened in my mind now.
He's making fun of my war, my personal crusade.
That's heavy Dracula energy.
HDE, baby.
Constantinople.
Nipple. Content a nipple page.
Actually, Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder constant elopal in this movie.
They do. They do.
It's not an elopement because it's at the church, right?
Well, elope just means you didn't tell anybody and you went and did it. It doesn't mean that it wasn't in a church.
Yeah.
I'm not as confident in that meeting, so I agree with you.
People elope in Vegas churches all the time.
Do they?
Yeah, that's true. Chapels.
Yeah, I mean, it just so happens that, like, their priest is a Elvis, but yeah.
Their priest is a king, which maybe is even better.
Until he wants to claim prima nocta, Paige.
Until he wants to claim prima nocta. Anyway, so he and Gary Oldman proceed to have many very strange encounters throughout this castle over the next 20 minutes where he'll just be like shaving and Gary Oldman will just be like, yes, about those letters I asked you to write because I want you to stay another month. And he just like seductively shaves Keanu Reeves and then licks the blood off the straight right. It's just oof magoof.
I loved it. It is like Riff Raff is Dracula for like the first 20 minutes of this movie, and I was here for it.
It's astounding.
He even sort of
Enjoy your eating. My train fills up the floor, but shave real closely. Yeah, 100%.
But am I wrong, Paige?
Not at all.
He has strong Riff Raff vibes when he's old Dracula, which he seems to be able to change at his whim.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a traditional Airbnb when it first came out, when you're just like, I'll stay in your guest bedroom, and like weird shit like this happened, you know?
Yeah. Well, I will never forget early Airbnb days. Armando had a gig somewhere and got an Airbnb, and the owner of the house was like lounging naked on the couch and was like, oh yeah, your guys' bedroom's back there. Like it was just a whole mess. It was real bad.
Was that extra? Like, did he pay extra for that?
No, they did not want any part of it. They thought that they had like a own entrance, whole nine. No, and then like she invited some dude over, and it was like, ooh, it was not good. Yeah.
Oh, they got their own entrance page.
Yeah, I think their very own entrance wasn't a doorway.
Sure. But none of them wanted any part of it. So they were just like, what's the cleaning fee? I don't know. Anyway, now there are some really cool scenes here where they're like talking about his properties in London, and we see his shadow moving independently of Dracula himself. I think that's a really cool effect. It's a really unique way to do it. It's very reminiscent of the black and white Nosferatu. Like,
yes, it is.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
I really dug it too.
Is it still weird as fuck? Yes, but I still dig it.
And they're capturing all that in camera.
Yes.
So like there is someone who's playing his shadow, and then he is lit in a very difficult way.
Yes.
Because you see him clearly, and it looks like his shadow would be behind him, but his shadow is not. And that is nuts.
Right.
They did such a good job with that. It's really cool.
Yes, there are a lot of things like that in this movie that I'm like, I don't know how the fuck they did that.
Yeah.
But it looks fucking cool. Good for them.
Same. I literally watched it twice. I was like, I know this is a lighting trick, but I couldn't tell you where the key light is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If only the plot wasn't an eighth grader's wet dream, those effects would have been used in great effect.
I
Yeah,
still think
Mikey.
they are. It's just, you could just trim 20 minutes out of this. But anyway, this is where he's like, hey, write a bunch of letters to your family and say that you're going to stay here. And he's like, oh, I don't get to leave. Oh, no. And while that's happening, meanwhile, Mina is staying with her bitchy rich friend, Lucy, who is a whole lot all at once.
Yeah.
Well, she gets hers, Paige.
She does indeed.
How dare she speak her mind in the 1800s?
Yeah. I don't know like if there was like consent involved with the whole Dracula thing. So she just seemed like a flirtatious, terrible, self-important person.
Yeah, that's the part of she doesn't deserve to be eaten out by a fucking wolf, which is basically what happens later. But like,
Oof.
you know, as far as she does not seem pleasant to hang around with prior to that, a separate issue, right?
Yeah, she's Winona Ryder's rich trash friend.
What? Winona Ryder said she likes it.
What?
I thought she said she liked her in her little voiceover. Like, I wish I could be more like her. And
She does. She shouldn't want to be more like her. She is obnoxious. Like, she is clearly manipulative too, which I don't love. Like, again, none of this is, she doesn't deserve to get Draculaed, but I do think that she is maybe not a great person to start out with.
well, I mean, the only thing that can really determine what kind of life she lives is what kind of dude she can bag at that point. So good on her for trying to do the best she could.
She does pretty well for herself. Like Carrie Ellis is, I believe, a lord in this movie.
Yeah.
She was like, doctor, no. Let's do independently wealthy. Good for you, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is basically what she did. But she basically like flirts her way up the ladder of like flirts with one to make the next one jealous, to make the next one jealous, to then get to Carrie Elwes.
Yeah.
Which like, hey, if Carrie Elwes is on the table, take it, girl. I get it.
Yeah, you always go for the Pirate Roberts.
Yeah. But even after they're engaged, she still seems very flirtatious with the others. So she's kind of just always playing for what she can get.
Yeah.
Which is a little... Ugh. Anyway, so we do see her kind of make her way through. And while that's happening, we cut to one of her suitors is a doctor who works at what I would say is unfortunately a mental health facility. It's just terrifying at this time. There's a guy who just has a cage around his head at all times.
And I think those dudes are security. Like,
yeah.
We see dudes with cages on their heads, like hosing people down, like crowd control.
Bro, let me tell you from a mental health perspective.
You would know, yeah.
Cage on your head is just part of the uniform. Like when you go to work, you got to put that cage on. You got to like know it. Like this is a what? Like I get to work. I make sure my people below me have their head cages on, and then I shoot up my opium, just like you're supposed to.
Just like they do in this movie.
Yeah, and you're like, the guy eating bugs, he's on to something. I believe him.
Yeah.
I believe
Where's
him.
my laudanum?
Yeah. I thought it was more like a work release program. Like they were themselves incarcerated in this facility and for some reason had earned the level of hose haver, but still had to have head cages. So I'm glad to hear that that's not the case, and it's just standard issue.
It's just something I do as a metaphor for work in general. So like it's your mind cage, you know, but it's like ironic because it's a mental health facility.
Right.
I think they actually did that to people who would bite you.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's standard procedure. Everyone who's a therapist has a head cage underneath their desk. You just don't see it because they don't. It's out of fashion right now.
That's why you don't like pop psychology.
Exactly.
Because it's not the psychology of the 1890s.
Yeah. They're like, you can't shoot up any drugs at work. I was like, hello, what if I'm diabetic someday?
Anyway, head cages. So this is where he talks to Renfield for a little while about like, why the bugs? And he's like, well, I try to eat things that have life in them because it gives me life. And he's like, okay, so what about like spiders? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, sparrows. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, what about like a kitten? And he's like, oh my God, yes. He's like, or a cat. And he's like, oh my God, give me that pussy. And he's like, great, thanks for the notes. Okay, bye. But he does try to bite his neck.
It is crazy. Like Renfield gets a lot of screen time up front for almost no payoff at the end.
Yeah, except that for him biting this dude's neck, but then the dude is fine and it's like,
right?
You know, not a thing. Yeah.
I actually do think he bites one side and the guy, as he walks away, grabs the other side.
I noticed that as well. Yeah.
I was like, I thought he bit the whatever. Okay, let's just move on because this thing's nuts.
You know, if he would have had his head cage on.
Exactly.
That's what the head cages are for. Vampires.
It makes sense, honestly.
Yeah. You never know when you're going to be in an interrogation. A guy's just going to be like, Sookie, Stackhouse.
Oh, that's like one of the scariest things you could hear from a stranger, I think.
Sookie Stackhouse?
Calling you Sookie?
Just walking down an alleyway in the dark at night, you just hear Sookie Stackhouse. I'd be like, oh no.
What's scarier, that or this is the skin of a killer?
Probably that. That would be terrifying, Paige. Unless it was you, then I would laugh. Anybody else, I'm terrified.
Robert Pattinson just orbs up behind you. He's like, say it, vampire.
Gross.
We got to do the third one of those.
Somebody calls Zabrowski.
She's very busy right now.
Yeah, they always are.
Anyway, so we cut back to the castle, and this is where he sees Mina's photo out on the table. But Jonathan says, oh, I thought I had lost that. I'm glad you found it, which I think to me means he had like had it somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And either like got it from his stuff or whatever.
Dracula had been incorporating that photo into his own use.
Yeah, he was Kyle Reese in it. Yeah, sure.
For sure, yeah.
But this is also where he like goes to shave him and then licks the blood and then sees that he's got the crucifix on and he's like, these are not our ways. But this is where we get the very famous line that, listen to them, the children of the night. What sweet music they make. And then he like climbs out the window and crawls down the wall of the castle. And Keanu's just like, huh? What?
It's weird to me. He never tries to leave until like way later than this.
It says that he did try to leave and they kept bringing him back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the ladies keep tracking him down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They got a taste.
I mean, he is Keanu Reeves. Like, I get it.
It is Keanu Reeves. Yeah. But he, at this point, starts trying to escape because he goes through the castle and looks for another door. Mind you, Dracula's already said to him, like, hey, you should probably stay in this room because there's a lot of stuff in this castle that might freak you the fuck out. So maybe don't go snooping around. And he's like, I'm going to immediately snoop around. So he finds a door. He thinks that he hears Mina, but it's something that's like, Jonathan, come to me, lay down.
It does sort of sound like Winona Ryder's voice, though. Like, I would have fallen for it at first.
Yeah.
All girls sound the same. I would have fallen for it.
I wouldn't have sat down on the bed, though.
That bed looked filthy.
It looked real silky.
Mikey, no. If you sit on a bed and a naked lady, like orbs up from that bed, I'm out. No, that's a ghost lady at very least.
I'm all in.
Of course, Mikey.
I like that Mikey's down for the ghost lady, but not just a slightly attractive woman approaching him in public, where he's like, she's going to kill me. Ghost lady, totally fine.
Yeah.
But you don't have to commit to a ghost lady, Paige.
A ghost lady's going to haunt your dick.
That's right.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me something that's not appealing about it.
I'm going to wake up at night in cold sweats thinking about that. You know what I'm saying?
Look, just because she's got boobs doesn't mean you should go all in.
Oh, he's going to go all in. She's definitely getting a scream pie.
Oh, I want to haunt that Kant.
That's only okay when I say it.
I don't know if that rhymed.
Oh, I I'd just be worried that it would chafe because, like, if they're mostly made of sheet, like, that might, I mean, depending on your thread count, be not great on your skin.
And they had a mirror above the bed. That was like a fuck room.
It definitely was a fuck room, yeah. I don't think the mirror on the ceiling would be good in this context, though, because you can't see them. You're just watching yourself get, like, made out with and bit.
Get Dr. Manhattaned. Yeah.
But haven't you ever wondered what your penis looks like while it's inside someone?
No. I know what it looks like. Like, I'm attached to it. I've seen it before.
No, but I mean, like, it's going to be different.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, change shape.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it looks like in there. This is we either need an invisible lady or like a vampire in a mirror.
What would you rather have sex with, Mikey? An invisible lady or a vampire in a mirror?
That's a tough question.
I'm going to have to go ahead and say vampire in a mirror.
That is the right answer, though. Hell yeah, Mikey.
That is the right answer because then you could see them. The invisible lady is just invisible no matter what.
Right.
But like if you came, like where would it go? You get to see what happens inside there.
You know what? I don't hate that. Like, I think that might be, from a scientific standpoint, interesting.
Right? How does the sausage get made? You know what I'm saying?
Well, how does the baby get made?
That's true.
Life itself, Mikey. How does life itself get made?
Todd, if they can get pregnant like Blade and you're a regular man and it's a vampire woman, does she invisible in a mirror accept the fetus?
Oh, Mikey, yes, I think yes. I think yes, and I love it.
No, because the baby's a vampire.
It's half vampire.
Or at least a daywalker.
Does Blade have a reflection?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess maybe.
Is it just like the coolest pair of sunglasses walking around town?
I don't know. Anyway, so he has group sex with all these vampire ladies, and they bite him a bunch. But he doesn't ingest any of their blood.
Because he's practicing safe sex.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it's not cheating if they do it to you. That's not right?
I mean, I have heard people say that eating ain't cheating, but
I mean, he is a victim here, right?
Oh, he is definitely a victim there, yes. Yeah.
He like got glamored into laying on the bed and now they're like slowly draining him of blood. Like,
yeah, I feel like anyone who has sex with a vampire in this film was glamored into doing so, and therefore consent is questionable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But who should show up to break up the party but Dracula himself with a baby for them to eat? Ugh.
Fuck me. I was not expecting Gary Oldman to drop a baby for dinner. Like, I was blown away that they did that.
Yep.
I realized that that's probably in the book. Still blown away by it.
I don't remember that being in the book, but it does seem on brand for Dracula.
Sure, Dracula's like the worst guy. So yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But terrible.
But also, like, people were just throwing babies away back then.
I mean, that is true. People did throw babies away back then. That doesn't make it a good thing, but it did happen.
Yeah, Dracula's just dumpster diving.
Oh, no.
Transylvania prom was that night, and I'll see you next week.
Mikey, why are you making me laugh at such terrible things? Please stop.
The theme was the music of the night.
The band, The Wolves.
Oh, they did the monster mash.
It was a baby smash.
Oh, no.
You're making me do this, Paige.
I didn't make you do anything.
Y'all did this to yourselves.
Did we?
Anyway, but this is where, in his letters, he reveals that the Count was filling up a bunch of boxes of soil to then have that shipped to London along with him, delivered to his new property.
Yeah.
Now, we cut back to England, where Lucy has accepted Carrie Elwes's proposal, and Mina is like, hey, this letter I got from Jonathan's kind of fucking weird.
It's super sketch.
Yeah, it's super sketch, and he's like in some fucking castle for a month. So he might be dead, and I'm worried about that. And Lucy's just like, shut the fuck up and be my bridesmaid, mimosa. That is her energy.
I mean, that is Lucy. That's straight up Lucy right there, yeah.
That's straight up Lucy. I don't even know when they invented the mimosa. I think Lucy did. Anyway.
Good for her.
So there's this weird montage of like the Demeter, the boat, bringing Dracula closer, and there's like a storm. And for some reason, Mina and Lucy are like running and dancing through the gardens and making out.
Yeah. It was weird, right?
It's called a storm, Paige. Yeah, it's what happens. Under the shadow eyes.
You know, I've been a lady with lady friends for a long time, and I've never done that. I'm sure some people have. I just haven't.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because Dracula's never turned his eye like Sauron to stare at you through the night.
Wow, thanks for fucking reminding me, Todd. I thought I was popular.
I'm going to go with Eye of the Storm. This is the moment for me where I was like, oh, this movie's terrible.
Yeah, me too. But like in a way that demands respect because there's like A-list actors in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like huge stars.
Yeah, it's a lot.
They're like, now we want you to frolic around the hedge mage and make out and like just giggle a lot for no reason. And we're not going to explain.
And also we're going to show shots of the zoo because there's a wolf loose at the zoo, but it turns out that it's going to be actually Dracula. But also Dracula is currently in some sort of body condom on the boat because he's in like a weird plasticky thing that you're just like, what is that?
Yes, he is.
Shrink wrap.
My favorite shipping montage we get of Dracula is when he's racing home and we get like reaction shots of him in a crate full of dirt.
While he's in the crate. Yeah. And he's just like, yes, Mina is nearby.
It's just like so weird. And he's just like in a crate of dirt.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Compost.
I was dating a vampire, but she kept trying to send me nudes and they were just like blank photos.
Wait, okay. Can you take a photo of a vampire? It's not a reflection, and most cameras now don't use mirrors.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do a digital photo.
Yeah.
There's a whole Reddit thread on this.
That does not surprise me at all, Paige.
So Reddit, as of 2012,
That sounds like the time the internet was wonderful.
says no, silver kills. And so they say part of it is the silver used in mirror backs and the silver salts used in photographic film. Silver kills or harms vampires because metal has power against them. Therefore, silver devices such as mirrors and cameras that use photographic film don't capture vampire images. However,
There we go.
digital cameras,
Hell yeah.
because it wasn't an old style film camera with no silver salts involved. Therefore, you are able to capture pictures of vampires on digital images.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Love it.
Nice.
Thanks, Reddit. No notes. Anyway, Renfield is like, the master is here. The wolf is free. The girls are making out. It's all happening.
He has that guy from Ghostbusters 2 energy. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Vigo the Carpathian's art director.
Yes, that guy. He has that guy energy. And I will go to my crate full of Romanian dirt saying that.
Anyway, we cut to Lucy is having a hot, sexy dream in the house and leaves to go walk out into the garden. Something calls her out there. And it looks like a half wolf, half ape, but allegedly that is Dracula. I have no further explanation for you. It doesn't make sense in the movie. It's not really a thing that makes sense in the book.
In some interpretations of the vampire lore, they can transform into a bat or bats, rats, or a wolf and smoke. Because I played a video game where you could transform into all four or whatever.
That's the case in this movie too. It's just that this doesn't even look like a regular wolf.
No, it looks like a werewolf.
It looks like a Bigfoot. Yeah, it's a whole mess. But Mina is like, where the fuck is Lucy? And runs out into the garden and finds her literally fucking that werewolf.
Oh, yeah.
/ Dracula on the top of a grave.
They are boning, yes.
Phantasm style, yeah.
If you're dating a person who can transform into things, would you have sex with them while they were transformed into something else?
Is it weird that I knew you were going to ask this?
I would not, because I'm only attracted to their human form.
Same.
Wow, so superficial. Wow.
You know what? Yeah, that's fine.
But Paige, I could see you wanting Jake to go like beast mode on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wolves don't really have shoulders, though. Like
what Sasquatch does.
A Sasquatch does. I need shoulders. I need hands, you know.
Sasquatch got big hands.
That's, you know, hey, a Sasquatch maybe, but Sasquatch is almost humanoid when you think about it. Like, if we're talking about, like, transformed into other form and it's werewolf, then it's probably just like a fucking wolf. Unless they're the werewolves from Dog Soldiers, in which case, no, that's too tall.
Tall people are attractive.
I am 5'2". I have limits to the height that I can maneuver.
Okay, but this werewolf has big shoulders. It's right there.
I was not attracted to this werewolf at all.
Its face was jacked up. I honestly never thought I'd have to hear Paige say that, but I guess we've come to that part.
All of it was busted. I was not featuring this werewolf.
Mikey, you asked that question of both of us as if you would have sex with someone who can change into animal forms as their animal form.
I like girls when they don't wear makeup.
Oh my God, Mikey, no! No, stop being so bad!
I set that joke up like 10 minutes ago.
And I walked right into it like a goddamn idiot.
I love it when a plan actually comes together. There's like the one time things worked out where I got to the actual punchline that I wanted.
If you could transform into one of the things that Dracula can transform into, which one would you transform into?
Fucking Smoke.
Bat all day.
Bat.
Smoke's invincible.
Yeah, but Smoke is not corporeal. I can't fuck a Smoke.
Oh, okay. Wait. I mean, but you can get into like a bank vault and like steal shit.
Holy shit. I'm changing to Smoke. Mikey's a goddamn genius.
I can get into a bank vault as a fucking bat.
You can get under any door with Smoke.
Yeah, but you couldn't get back out with money.
Paige, at worst, as Smoke, you're just getting blown.
I still want to be a bat. Bat? Human form.
I'll take Smoke all day, Mikey. Hell yeah.
Or if somebody's looking for you, you just become Smoke. Like, what is this room foggy? And you're like, fucking just hold my smoke breath.
You just hear Smoke giggling.
That sex mist. Damn it, Dracula.
Who left all this dry ice in here?
You can sneak into places with Smoke, man. Any place, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you'd have to become Smoke again to get back out. So like, let's say you're going to rob a bank, right? Unless you then open that vault door to get the money out, you would just have to mist in and mist out. And you wouldn't be able to take anything with you.
Missed in and missed out is the title of my dating profile. So
Mikey won't ghost you. He'll fog you.
Yeah, it's just because he only comes mist at this point.
I'm still going Smoke all day, every day.
Yeah, Smoke, man.
I'm going to swallow a gold bar, turn to mist, shit it out.
God, that would hurt so bad.
I would be like, and like if you ever fought crime, you could just punch somebody and then like they turn around and it's just like foggy and they're like, what the fuck happened? But yeah, Bat would be cool because you could fly. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
You can fly as Smoke.
I'm surprised none of us picked Pile of Rats.
I was thinking about it. Pile of Rats was my second choice because I didn't think about Smoke. So my first choice was Bat. And then I was like, Wolf, too big, limiting, can't be around people. And then I was like, Rats, definitely a Pile of Rats.
A werewolf is my second choice.
I feel like werewolf is limiting because like you can only go certain places as a werewolf and not be in imminent danger.
Oh yeah, it's just my physical confrontation form.
Yeah. I feel like I already leave a trail of shredded cheddar cheese everywhere I go, like some sort of weird dairy fairy. So rat seems consistent for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Right? I've got, heavy rodent energy. So.
Paige, disagree. But, I understand how you got there.
If you don't think I'm going to lick peanut butter off stuff, you have misjudged.
You did burn your face on a cake pan.
I burned my face smelling a cake the other day.
Wow. Jake's a lucky guy.
It's finally peeling.
So funny. So tragic.
Kept having to put makeup over it. Anyway.
You did what will be undoubtedly a punchline in a roast battle at one day.
I'm sure. Anyway, so all of Dracula's boxes get delivered.
He's just dropping loads off all around London. He's a real fuckboy, Mikey.
Yeah, he has 10 places to sleep. I love this guy.
Yeah, he's got safe houses.
Yeah, safe house. He can drop loads at that abbey. He can drop them in your mom. He can drop loads anywhere.
I mean, he goes to London to fuck Keanu Reeves' fiance and then fucks her friend first.
Yeah.
He could have had sex with anybody else in London, but he I don't know, honed in on her best friend?
Bro, he's a fuck. He
is a fuck
fucks her
boy
because he saw that picture. He
I
was
know.
just going to London to fuck.
Yes.
Dracula is the most fuckboy of the monsters. Frankenstein, monogamist, but Dracula, fuckboy.
Yeah, he is a fuckboy.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Gemini.
Clearly.
I bet Dr. Jekyll fucks.
I bet Dr. Hyde or Mr. Hyde fucks, although I think the consent between the two, questionable.
Oh, yeah. What about the mummy? You think he got around when he was alive.
Yeah, and at least he's safe and wraps it up every time.
He's not going to get you pregnant.
No. Anyway, so his boxes get delivered. Now he's young Gary Oldman just strutting around in his 4-piece gray suit. And he sees Mina walking around. And he's like stalking her. And I guess convinces her to show him where the cinematograph is, which basically ends up being like an old-timey porn theater.
Yeah, it's like a movie theater that shows, I guess what you probably called stag films, right? Like at the time.
No, it's a porn theater. It's a straight-up porn theater.
I don't even know if they had that name yet.
No, they don't even have a name for it. They're just like, show me the naked ladies. Thank you.
Yeah.
Show me the jiggle bits.
I do like that when he's just like eyed her across the street, she's just walking, minding her own business, and he's all, see me. And that's when she looks over.
I still whisper that to women I'm attracted to on the street to this, look at me. Look at me. If you say it out loud, you sound bad. But if you say it in your mind, you're good to go.
There you go. It's one of my favorite running gags on What We Do in the Shadows, where in the movie, it was Jermaine Clement, who's just, see me. And then in the show, it's
got to be Matt Berry, right?
No. It's Nandor the Relentless. It's Kay Van Novak.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
See me. Fucking guy, look over here, see me. It's very funny.
Now, I will say, he does just like BDE it. He's like, hi, I'm a rich prince. I've come to be rich here.
Yeah.
Oh, man, she wouldn't give him the time of day. And then he was like, oh, I am Prince Vlad, the chick nailer. And she was like, oh, a prince?
And then she's like, oh, do you have a princess or a queen?
A prince? Ooh. Yeah.
Brits and their royals.
I know. Well, and he immediately takes her to a porn theater and then aggressively tries to assault her at this theater and glamours her so she stops fighting back.
But she is oddly into it?
No, he's glamoring her.
No, I mean, yeah, she is like being mind controlled by him at this point, yes.
Yeah.
Well, he also brings his wolf from the zoo. He's like, hey, come over here. Come to this theater. Empty it out for me.
Yeah.
He does, though.
I need a bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, can you wolf dog me real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, Wolf Dog. Sup, Wolf Dog? Hey, we're going to go shoot some craps. Wolf Dog's coming. Yeah. Anyway, so we cut to, and he does like take her home, but it's a real unfortunate interaction. He doesn't bite her, but he almost does, and it's not great.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at Lucy's house, Jack, who was the doctor, the suitor that she passed up in favor of Cary Elwes, I do like that all of her 3 potential boyfriends are like, we're just going to be buds, okay? Like, we're all friends here.
I honestly think that's great. I love positive male relationships, and these dudes who were like going after the same girl still bro down at the end.
This is the most realistic part of the movie. Because if 3 dudes were chasing a girl, and that's like the primary plot, but if those 3 dudes found out vampires were real and if they want to kill them, they'd be like, we're best friends.
Yeah.
Forever. We don't care about the girl anymore.
That's 100%. They don't mourn her that much.
No, not at all. I do think they kill the vampire in her honor, but that's about it. And I think they would have killed the vampire anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they have to because they did cut her head off, and like the implication,
What?
Well, they can't just be like not mention her again, or people are gonna think they took too much joy in cutting her head off.
That's sort of true. They've gotta go to Romania or wherever, and hold someone accountable, right?
She died. It definitely wasn't us. We cured the vampireism. Here's her head.
Yeah.
We've got to go kill the other vampire, not because it's really fucking cool.
Right.
But because to avenge her.
Because we were so sad about her and her head that is now not a part of her body. But anyway, she's still alive at this point. And Jack comes over and she's just like, I'm super sick. But by sick, I mean, I can feel everything. And I'm like, orgasming every moment. Because she's just like, from this point to the end of the movie, she's just constantly coming, like the whole time.
Oh, yeah. But she is like becoming a vampire, which apparently is the most sexually satisfying thing ever.
Honestly, I feel like she was having a good time and they ruined it. She was almost there.
Oh, she kept getting so close, Paige. I think they call it edging.
Yeah. Anyway, she's like, I'm having horrible nightmares, but like when I'm awake, I feel like I can feel and hear everything. Oh my God. And she's like, kiss me. And he's like, okay. And he does. But then the Texas guy is there and Arthur, Cary Elwes is there.
Yeah.
And Jack is like, yo, she's got something, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Time to call my crazy former professor, Van Helsing, because maybe he'll know what it is.
When he name dropped Van Helsing, I was like, hell yeah. I can't wait to see Hugh Jackman, because I fully thought Hugh Jackman was going to be in this movie. And then it cuts to like a college professor looking Anthony Hopkins. And I was like, who's this jackalope? And then he's Van Helsing and he's fucking crushing it. I was like,
yeah.
From here on out, I love this movie.
Well, let's cut to that, because like we've kind of gotten there's stuff kind of cutting back and forth, and we've covered it all, just maybe not exactly in order, because we already covered her getting almost assaulted, and he doesn't bite her and instead takes her home.
But but if it makes y'all feel better, the movie's order is not much different than ours and the way it makes sense, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, there you go. We cut to a lecture theater where Anthony Hopkins gets bit by a vampire bat and is like, see, this bat has to drink X amount of blood. And they're like, sir, a telegram. And he's just like, a real vampire? Hooray! You can all leave.
Class dismissed. And they're like, rumble, rumble,
knock,
rumble,
knock,
rumble,
knock,
rumble.
knock, rumble, rumble, rumble. And the lecture, by the way, was on syphilis. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yes.
But I thought that was fun.
I did love his banger of a joke, the civilized world and the syphilized world.
Good joke. He's got bangers all movie.
Van Helsing is
When
great.
he makes that joke of like, I just want to cut your friend's head off, I was like, did he say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That was
funny.
great. I was laughing. It was wonderful. Meanwhile, back to Transylvania, where Keanu is slowly dying by snoo from the lady vampires.
I mean, yeah.
And they keep trying to bleed him dry. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to try and get my way out.
He's like, I can't get out. It's the worst. Wink, wink.
No.
I can't come back to you.
She sucked all my strength out through my penis.
Dude, at one point when he first gets on that bed, it does look like she bites him on the dick. Can we talk about it?
She fully does.
Like, it looks like she's draining him from the sheath.
Monica Bellucci hot dogs his dick immediately. Like the second she comes up between his legs.
That's where I draw the line, and we're going, I don't like teeth or fangs in that sort of arena.
Oh, picky, superficial tooth lover.
I'm definitely anti-fang down there for sure.
Yeah.
You just gotta pull your lips over like,
Oh.
That was a visual joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. She looks like a great-grandmother.
Who took her teeth out?
Yes.
Are we trying to teach how to give a good blowjob? Like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, through an audio medium. Good
Welcome
luck.
to our radio show, How to Give a Good Blowjob.
Now I'm just picturing like a sexual advice call-in show, but from a time before TVs.
This kind of existed. Dr.
Okay.
Ruth did exist for a long time.
I know, right?
Next bonus video, I just want you to post the thing on Patreon where people ask us questions on relationships and sex.
Oh, and we give sex advice? I'm down. I'm 100% down. I can't, no one should follow the advice.
Yeah, no. We'll do a disclaimer.
I can't guarantee I'll give good advice.
Yeah, no.
I love it. Let's do it.
Start thinking of those questions now. Anyway, so Keanu escapes and falls down into the river and climbs out. Meanwhile, Van Helsing arrives at the house and he does weirdly like dance with Winona Ryder, which is a little weird.
It is the most aggressive first meeting I've ever seen anyone do ever.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Because he gets like real in her face about Lucy and it's wild. But they are like dancing and then he's like, off. Go see your friend. He like dismisses her. It's so strange.
Well, and it's really weird because she goes to see her and knocks down a little garlic wreath or whatever. But like the second she leaves to be like, what the fuck is up with her? Gary Oldman shows up at the window and he's just like, hi, it's me, Gary Oldman. And she's just like,
She orgasms immediately and then she's like, he's a prince. And you're like,
Do you see how easy it is for royalty just to get whatever they want, Mikey?
Well, because this is Lucy. She doesn't know he's a prince. She's just like, that seems like the wolf man who beat it up really good last time.
She's like, I want to ride that red rocket.
Oh no. But yeah, that is the 100%.
I'd have his puppies.
And we're back to the furry stuff. We got to stop it now before we go too far.
Anyway, so he sends his shadow in there to like.
Oh, yeah, we didn't. Shadow would also be a good form.
Yeah, shadow is a good form.
Stop doing shadow puppets, you weirdos. No one can hear you shadow puppet.
No one can hear anyone shadow puppet, Todd. You idiot.
That was my point.
Anyway, he shadow puppets up in that pussy. And then also he bites her neck. And this is where they're like, she lost a bunch of blood. We don't know where it's leaving. And then they find the like neck pokes and they're like, that's why.
Is this where she's dressed like a poodle? Because she has the world's biggest collar? Okay.
That's later. That's when she's turning. That's like when she's like already a vamp. This is when they're like, it's a mystery.
Yeah.
She's lost all her blood. Every one of you give you her blood. They're like,
yeah. All of them give blood.
That would not be a good idea because we don't know her blood type.
This is before they knew about types, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, and my favorite is that Anthony Hopkins is like, you guys don't even think about science. There's a lot of things that science can't explain that we know to be true, like hypnotism. And I was
like spiritualism? Like phrenology?
But that's what's pretty much one where you tell people's future from their butts and their feet? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, but that's honestly what the 1800s were like. You got high-roaded from a phrenologist. Like, oh, you backwards person. You don't believe the lumps on your head predict your future? Fucking ignorant stupid ass.
I can tell from the lump on your head that you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. We're going to bleed this injury out. She's lost a lot of blood. We got to bleed her for it.
Yeah. You know what she needs? Leeches. Or we could do some cocaine about it. Cocaine?
Cocaine, yeah?
Cocaine did make a lot of people feel better.
I mean, that is the one thing that it does most of the time. Almost to a fault. Anyway, so at this point, we cut to Gary Oldman, Dracula, and Mina, Winona Ryder, having like a weird absinthe date where he gives her absinthe, which at the time was way stronger than absinthe now and could produce hallucinations. Like current absinthe just kind of tastes like licorice.
Oh, no. And he's like, ride the green fairy. And I was like, damn, like, dude.
Oh.
First the green fairy, then the red rocket.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to write a lot of stuff, but alcohol does negate consent. So, like,
exactly.
You know, this is not great.
I bet hallucinogens do too, right?
Yeah, I would say anything that alters your
brain
ability to connect with reality.
Yeah.
But this is where he's like, I'm a prince. You are my princess. This is what our homeland was like. And she's like saying all these things, but he's definitely putting them in her head. And she then kind of like, she's like, oh, I'm remembering I fell in the river. And then she cries and he catches her tears and turns them into diamonds. That's a weird skill I didn't know Dracula had.
Oh, Paige, when he became like a Chris Angel level street magician, I lost my mind. I was like, how do you not like just become goth after watching that?
If he's just like, oh, what is this? An umpire cut in your ear?
It's like if you owned an emerald mine and also liked sleight of hand magic. So what I'm saying is Elon Musk can probably do this.
Like, that sounds like some Elon Musk shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, meanwhile, Keanu climbs out of the river that he fell into towards a church, and he's like, fantastic. And the nuns at this church take him in and then write a letter to Winona Ryder that's like, hey, bitch, your fiance's alive, but you got to come here to marry him because otherwise we're going to do it. We're treating him while he's sick.
But he is like, he says in the letter, or they say in the letter, he thinks you're in incredible danger.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, but I'm going to fuck Dracula about it, so it's cool.
Well, because she does. She's like, my sweet prince, oh no, Jonathan must never know of us. And so she goes to say goodbye to Lucy one more time. And this is where she knocks over the garlic. But this is where Lucy goes like, like full orgasm, and then the wolf breaks in, and it definitely looks like a wolf is going down on Lucy.
To death.
Yeah.
She dies in this scene.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? That's what I expected because it's a pit bull.
It's Mr. Worldwide?
It's Mr. Worldwide? Mr. Worldwide is a vampire?
Don't get me wrong. I would not be surprised if I saw Mr. Worldwide dining at the Y, but like not to death.
No. Anyway, this is cut into a few different pieces where Mina then leaves and writes a letter to Dracula, but she's already on the boat by the time she sends it. And Dracula's like, no! And he like cries blood. And this is where he goes to, turn into a wolf to kill Lucy, I guess, via her lady bits.
Oh, wait, was that Dracula who killed Lucy? I thought it was just like a wolf doing his bidding.
It might be. The movie's unclear, Todd.
Yeah, okay. I would buy that it's Dracula too. That's one of his forms, so like that's fine.
He needs the blood,
no,
right?
He's the werewolf one. It's just if it's the regular actual dog, it's not. It's just the dog from the zoo.
But he is there in his weird form when it's dying.
Oh yeah, you're right. So it is just the wolf then doing the eating.
I have no idea.
Either way, not into it.
Yeah.
This scene gets 0 out of 5 lion roars, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's cut back and forth with Mina and Jonathan getting married.
Yeah.
And Lucy seeming to have a real great time, even though she's dying. And there's just a huge blood splash all over the bed.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, wolf, eat that pussy. It's wild.
She bloodgasms, like you do.
And then we see her in a crazy glass coffin like Snow White. And this is where she's in her like Elizabethan collar and flounce.
Yes.
All her big floofy things.
Yes.
But this is also where they're at like the funeral and Anthony Hopkins is like, hey, before nightfall, can you get me the tools for the autopsy? And he's like, wait, you want to do an autopsy? He's like, no, I just want to cut off her head and take out her heart. And he's like, what?
I love how like nonchalantly he says it.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, by the way, I have to do this. I'm not like asking you. I'm asking you to get me the tools to make it easy, but it's happening either way.
Right. Meanwhile, Mina and Jonathan have somehow made it back to London in record time because they seem to leave like days before she died and arrive like on her funeral, even though we know the journey takes a long time.
Yeah.
But Keanu sees young Dracula, which I don't know how he would recognize. Oh, I guess maybe from the painting, but he's just like, there he is, but he's young again. Meanwhile, the group of the other guys go to Lucy's grave and they stake her through, or they're about to stake her through the heart. But her coffin is empty.
Yeah.
She comes in carrying a toddler who she just full drops on the marble floor. Just like, ta-dow.
And he was already a well-respected chimney sweep, so it was a big loss for the community.
But she, because of the crucifix, they get her to climb back into her coffin, and she just like barfs blood onto Anthony Hopkins.
Paige, can I say something about them backing her into the coffin with the cross?
Yes.
I think they shot that in reverse.
They did. That was one of my fun facts.
And
yeah.
it looks so cool. Like I was into it. But that has to have been so difficult for the actress who played Lucy. Like that shit's not easy to do and make it look good,
Yeah, well, and that is part of why they shot it in reverse. So she's climbing out of the coffin instead of climbing in.
Yeah.
And that's what they play. But then they make Carrie Elwes, her literal, like, widow, stake her in the heart, and then they cut the head off.
I thought that was insane.
It was just petty.
I know. They were like, hey, you married her. You should kill her.
Oh, God.
Well, yeah, she stole her from them. I'm not going to kill the girl who chose somebody else. He cuts the head off.
I feel like Van Helsing should have done it. He's the one who has, like, no personal attachment to anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, do it yourself.
Anyway, literally the next day, Van Helsing meets with Mina and Jonathan, and he's just like, now I know he cheated on you with a bunch of vamp bitches, but did you drink their blood? And he's like, no. And he's like, oh, great.
You're good then. Don't worry about it.
You're good. Don't worry about it.
Because that's totally how bloodborne pathogens work.
It doesn't vampirism.
It is. You're right. I think with vampirism, it's as much about intention as it is the actual disease in the blood.
Yeah.
At least with turning.
Well, it's in turning, they drink and then you drink. That's the way to turn, is that you have to also ingest. But anyway, so and at this point, Jonathan's like, well, I know where he is because I know all the properties he bought and the ancestral dirt and everything. So they're going to go to Carfax Abbey that he bought it. Meanwhile, they're like, we got to keep Mina safe. So why doesn't she stay at the mental health facility?
Well, it seems like the doctor lives there.
I think so, yeah.
Just amongst the screams.
It's just normal things you do, people.
Mikey, do you currently live in the inside of what looks like a sanitarium?
That's not a head cage for just looks back there, people. That's practical.
Oh, God. But this is where she gets to meet Renfield. And Renfield is like, I know who you are. You're the bride my master covets. Which is why I think it was somehow either planned beforehand or at least he told Renfield about it mentally. It's just not on the screen.
Yeah.
But he's like, don't stay here. Get away from these men. I pray to God I never see your face again. And I do think this is Renfield trying to save her.
Yeah.
Because later, Dracula's like, you betrayed me. And I think it was this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But they take her upstairs to go to bed. Meanwhile, at the Abbey, they're destroying every box. They're putting candles in the ground along with crucifixes in the dirt.
Yeah.
And this is where the mist orbs up into Renfield's thing and is like, you betrayed me. And he's like, no, I only served you. And then it just kills Renfield against the bars. Like,
man, I thought that looked awesome. Like in a very silly, like silent filmy way.
Yes.
Because the smoke is literally throwing him against the jail bars, the jail cell bars.
Yes.
What a great form that is to take.
I know. Mikey, I'm sold. Smoke is the way to go, baby.
Yep. And also, literally right after killing Renfield, it turns into green sex mist, where it just goes upstairs and like, leave the door open, girl, and just under the covers. And she's like, oh yeah, mist. What's up, mist? Give me them weird tentacles in that grocery store, mist. Let's go.
Paige.
Yeah.
It's clear that you have a thing for the tentacles. That's all I'm saying.
For Thomas Jane? Yeah, okay.
Oh,
no,
God,
okay.
you did bring up tentacles again, Paige. It's like subconscious at this
It's
point.
because it was in The Mist.
Okay.
Who would you rather have sex with? Thomas Jane from The Mist or Gary Oldman in this movie?
Gary Oldman in this movie because like he's a vampire, so like not even gay because he's not human.
I think he is human. He's just dead, which
No,
technically makes you a necrophiliac.
That's like
Hold
totally
up.
like
No. Mikey has established his rule of no homo. It's not gay if it's a vampire.
I mean, I watched Interview with a Vampire, and I think that holds up.
First of all, I think it's extra gay if it's a vampire.
They're two male vampires, so that's like vampire gay. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel like vampires have transcended normal human sexuality, so I'm going to say it's gayer if it's a vampire.
I don't think so. I don't think vampires can be gay because they can't take mirror selfies. Shit.
Oh my God. That feels very pointed to a member of your family.
Shots fired. Oh, does your brother listen to this?
No, of course not.
No, he's too busy starting an Instagram account based on his cat who is just catty to other people online.
But not even with puns.
Literally, his Instagram right now is like a story of him. He cooked dinner, topless, of course, and it's just a plate of food by his abs.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
So he's a foodie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the green sex mist blows Winona Ryder and then turns into Gary Oldman and she is into it. And he's like, by the way, I'm Dracula and I killed your friend. And she's just like, no, but I still love you. Damn it.
It's so
Damn it, I still love
you. It's insane.
He's like, I just got to be honest. I fucked and then murdered your best friend, but like, you're the one for me.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't quit you.
He literally does what every fuckboy does and goes to the next bitch's house and is like, it's always been you, babe.
It's always you. It's like the Steel Panther song Community Property where he says, you're the only girl that I like to screw when I'm not on the road. Like, it's that.
It is that, but she doesn't realize it.
She doesn't realize it. And so he bites her neck and she drinks his blood back. And he's like, wait, no, but she's already drank some of it. And he's just like, okay, fine. All right.
Okay, we have to talk about this because he orgasms from his chest, right?
100.
Like we all saw it. He like chestgasms into her mouth the vampire disease.
Well, it is a part of vampire lore that the act of both draining somebody and drinking their blood, but also having your blood drink is orgasmic. So,
all right.
Not surprising. That's pretty common in vampire stories because vampirism stories are often a commentary on the sexual permissiveness of the culture that it's about.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yeah. It's, every monster has their issue and sexual promiscuity and permissiveness is vampirism. Disease and consumerism is zombies, Yeah. Anyway, so, they have a good old time drinking blood. And then literally all the guys come and break up the party and she's just like, no, my vampire boyfriend, but also my husband. Oops. But this is where he turns into a weird like bat where he's got like chicken wing arms.
Yeah. He looks like Ben Affleck's back tattoo for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the worst tattoos on earth.
He does look good as his vampire form, like his bat form. But then the rats thing was really cool. It was a cool effect.
It is a cool effect, yeah.
He looks like if you ordered a monster from Wingstop and specified all flats. Like that, because that's what his arms look like.
Yes, it is.
But then he turns into a pile of rats. Very, very cool. And they're like, we got to burn them all, but you can't get all the rats because rats are fast and crafty. And so this is where they're like, we're going to have to chase him back to Transylvania because he's traveling back to Transylvania. She is clearly turning. So we gotta go.
And we gotta kill him before she turns completely. That's like the race against the ticking clock, you know?
Yes, because Bram Stoker's Dracula functions on the, I'll call it originator vampire lore, where it's like, if you kill the vampire that turned you, you don't turn.
Yes.
And so you are no longer a vampire. And if you kill vampires down the line, like your vampire lineage that unturns people or kills people, based on who you kill.
Yeah, if someone in your upline gets killed, you're no longer an Advocare salesperson.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's how vampirism works.
You get shifted into somebody else's upline, but they're eligible for the diamond bonus. Yeah. Anyway, so Dracula's taking a ship because he's a yachtsman. He's a rich douche. And they're going to take the train. And the train is going to be faster and beat him there because it takes a week on the water and 3 days by train.
Yeah.
But then they're also at a certain point, they realize that Dracula has sailed through the night, so he's going to get there faster than they expected. So they send Mina and Van Helsing in a carriage to get there first, kind of as bait, while everyone else kind of converges.
And it's almost implied that that Dracula can like read her mind or something. And that's why he knew he had to like race to get there.
Yeah.
So they like double down on that and get them there even faster. And that's why they're split up and why Van Helsing and her are already at the castle before Dracula gets there, but no one else is.
There. And her and Van Helsing are there. And she starts to kind of get like vibes from the other lady vampires. And she's just like, let's make out, Anthony Hopkins. And he's like, okay, just a little bit. Like... never mind.
They're glamoring him like they are.
Yes, they are. And he does put, now here's what I couldn't figure out because I remembered from Pope's Exorcist, he had that weird holy coin that he put against somebody's head. And it seems like this shows up here, but I think what it might actually be is a piece of the Eucharist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wafer.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's even more funny that one of the things in his arsenal is a tiny, easily cracked and crushed holy blessed wafer that he has to carry around to push on to people.
Could be stale. Doesn't need to be fresh.
No, but even stale, they are very fragile.
I think anytime you go into battle, you go with like very fresh, armor of the Lord, which includes your Eucharist.
I'm going to need you to bless this entire jar of Eucharist just in case I need a snack later. Yeah. It like burns her head.
It does.
Well, yeah, because she didn't sign the wafer.
That is, hey, she did not really ask to be cured, which I do think is funny that they're like, we got to cure her. And she's like, are we sure?
I do think she always remembers how Dracula dicked her down.
I think so.
He's the one that like vamped away.
Yeah. And so she's there with Anthony Hopkins. The vampiric harem, the ladies go to sleep and he beheads all of them and then throws their heads into the river.
I mean, he literally takes Mina and like lights a ring of fire around them.
Right.
So like the vampire brides or whatever you call them can't get them or whatever.
Yeah.
So they go to bed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why they were like, oh, they're in their ring of fire. He's not going to come out and kill us. We're all fine to sleep. There's like 5 of them. Like, post a guard.
Well, I mean, they have to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 of them.
You could take shifts.
But yes, you could take shifts. Anyway, so this is where he's now killed them, but the sun is setting and she's like, everyone's like, okay, when it's dark, he's at his full power. So now Mina is like, oh, right, I have vampiric powers. Come on, Storm. And she turns into Storm from X-Men.
Yeah.
for like the last bit of this movie.
Oh, this part was the dumbest.
Storm's not I like Storm. Storm is awesome.
No, not Storm, the X-Men. Her having a storm power.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty dumb. Yeah.
I do like the race to the castle through the sunset. Like, I thought it was well shot. Like, I actually really did sort of like this action montage.
It is well shot. My only frustration with it is we don't know who is fighting who, and they are almost indistinguishable.
Yeah, we're not getting any close-ups. It's all on the wide. You're right.
Yeah, it's a pile of bodies the whole time until they literally land at like the gates of the palace, and they get in a fight, and Keanu tries to slit his throat but doesn't quite get it.
Well, he slits his throat, but he doesn't cut his head off, which is, I think, what he was trying to do.
Yes. And then Quincy stabs him right in the heart like a stake.
Yeah.
So Dracula is dying gradually, but so is Quincy because he immediately kills Quincy.
Yeah.
And so at this point, they could kill Dracula, but Keanu Reeves is like, no, we gotta wait. She's got to figure her shit out. Like, if you love something, let it go. So she takes Dracula into the into the castle where he bleeds out. She gives him peace by pushing the knife down further and cutting his heads off. Even though she kisses his hilarious death face. Because he like dies normal, but then dies like The Ring. And is just like, oh, eyes all the way back. It's wild.
It does kind of rush his death, and then it's like credits.
Well, yeah, because it's like death, and then it's like the picture of him and her, and then she's cradling him, and then it ends. And I want to know if she came out with his head being like, all right, let's go back to our honeymoon now. Or if she's just like, I just live in this castle now.
I wanted to know what happened after she killed, like, what's Jonathan's take on all this? You know what I'm saying?
I know, but we don't get that because
that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you guys think about Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I love it for all the wrong reasons.
Same.
Just like Winona Ryder.
I don't think I'd watch this movie again soon, but I will definitely watch it again. And I'll make people watch this movie because I want to watch them watch it. I want them to look over at me 4 or 5 times with the face saying, what is happening right now?
Love it.
Because that's how I felt so many times watching this movie.
Yes.
Worth it, though. Loved it.
Yeah, this was a big budget movie.
Yes.
Oh, we will talk about it. And you are right. It was.
I'm sure this was so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I fucking dig it. It's weird. It's too long. It definitely needs to be, it needs cuts. It's all over the place. But like, you know what? It's fucking weird and cool looking, and I'm kind of here for that.
I really like the silent era throwback stuff. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I want more big swings. I like big swings, man.
Me too.
Yeah.
But Paige, before we get into all the box office stuff, do you want to hit us with some fun facts?
Yes.
Hit us with your fun facts. Stroker,
fun facts. So the wedding between Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, Mina and Jonathan, was a reshoot. And they actually did it at a Greek Orthodox church in Los Angeles. And they filmed the entire ceremony with a Romanian Orthodox minister. And they realized afterwards that technically, within the eyes of the church, they were married. Yeah, Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves are married. Not in any legal sense because they hadn't obviously, filed
just the eyes of
with
God.
The county. Under the eyes of God. And so to this day, Keanu Reeves says sometimes he still gets text messages from Winona Ryder that start with, hello, husband. And it's an ongoing joke that they have together, which I think is very funny.
I love that. That is so cute. Like, that's great.
Yes. So Prince Vlad's scream when he stabs that cross is not Gary Oldman. It's actually Lux Interior, the lead singer of The Cramps, who recorded that scream, and it was dubbed in over Gary Oldman's scream.
Okay. Did the lead singer from The Cramps leave that fun fact?
No. That's like, it was specifically done for it to sound pained. But also Gary Oldman had hired a singing coach and diction coaches to help him lower his voice by a full octave to try and give Dracula a more sinister quality. So there was a lot of both pre-production, post-production, current production messing with Dracula's voice for this movie.
Okay.
So there you go. Now, during the scene where he's shaving, and this is almost imperceptible while you're watching it, but the walls of the set gradually move inward to create a subliminal growing sense of claustrophobia.
Really?
So they had crew members moving the walls during the scene. Yeah, and you don't really notice it. Except that the scene is uncomfortable. But that's one of those weird things that I'm like, you know what? Pop off. Go.
That's very cool.
Now, during the pre-production of the movie, Francis Ford Coppola had an idea that when in the presence of a vampire, the laws of physics don't work correctly. And this explains why shadows act independently of the figures casting them, why rats can run along ceilings upside down, and why liquid in some of those scenes drips upward.
That was a cool effect. I really thought that was dope. Yeah.
Yeah. The little girl who played the toddler who gets carried into the crypt was genuinely terrified of Sadie Frost, who plays Lucy, in her makeup. And she didn't realize she would have to do more than one take. So after the first take, they had to basically stop and talk to her and be like, hey, she's just a nice lady in makeup. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. She's not going to hurt you. And they had to like sweet talk her back into Sadie's arms for another take. They only got a handful of takes with that toddler because she was so upset. Yes. Child actors, it's not great.
Yeah.
When Mina recalls her life as Elisabetta, basically planted there by Dracula, she refers to it as a land beyond the forest, which is the literal meaning of Transylvania.
I thought it was funny that when she said that, he goes, you've obviously seen my homeland. And like, no, I mean, like, there's always land after the forest. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah. Gary Oldman has said that he was drunk the night they filmed the scene where he had to lick blood from the straight razor. Thankfully, it was not a real straight razor. But also, this was part of a series of shoots that were all night shoots for multiple nights in a row. And the scene didn't even start filming until after midnight. And so the whole cast was tying one on and was in kind of a weird mood.
Oh, that comes across in that scene for sure.
Yeah. So Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder didn't get along well during filming, which kind of surprised the rest of the cast because during rehearsals prior to principal photography, they seemed to have become friends, but then they came back from a break in the schedule hating each other all of a sudden with no indication of what had happened. Winona Ryder has later said that there was a danger whilst working with Oldman where she found his acting style too intense, and she talked to him about it, and he did not receive that criticism well. But she does say that they have long since made their peace and they are now friends again. But another source also claimed that Oldman played a practical joke on her to get a surprise response from her during one of the takes, and she didn't appreciate it. They think that might have been part of the issue as well.
I could see that.
Yeah. In order to get the effect of Dracula's brides rising up from the bed, and also when Lucy does it as well, they consulted a team of professional magicians to help construct those rigs. So it is a practical effect as well.
That's perfect. That's exactly who should do that for this movie specifically.
Yep. The blue flames seen on the road to the castle are a detail mentioned in the book.
It has to be, because it's never explained in the movie.
And it makes no sense in the movie.
Right.
Yeah. But it's explained that one night every year, blue flames are seen over areas containing hidden treasures. And it is seen from the novel, Harker's coach driver stops several times to place rocks over them as markers in order to find them in the daytime and possibly dig up the treasure.
Okay.
But it's just a tiny detail about the superstition of the area.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Keanu Reeves has said that he wasn't happy with his performance in this film, saying that he was exhausted from making several movies back to back to back to back to back. And after signing on for this role, he was 3 or 4 movies deep, and he was like, I just didn't have anything left to give to this role.
I could see that.
Yeah. Now, Francis Ford Coppola added Bram Stoker's name to the title of this movie because in his personal tradition, he puts the author's names in the titles of his movies, such as Mario Puzo's The Godfather and John Grisham's The Rainmaker. Others have claimed, however, that the Stoker name was included to avoid legal action from Universal Studios, who claimed to own the rights to just the title Dracula, which that Dracula does not necessarily adhere to the book. So this was also a way to kind of differentiate the two because this is not a Universal film.
Yeah, I thought that they did this to like plant a flag of like, we are doing this version of Dracula, right? Like that is the story we're telling in this movie.
Yes. Now, Francis Ford Coppola was also not super happy with Keanu Reeves' casting and performance. He said that he did it to basically appease the studios. They wanted a young, hot star that would connect with female filmgoers, and that's how that happened. He also said that he kind of got into it with the studio over the fact that he didn't want to use any special effects or computer additions in the film. He wanted it all to be practical, which personally, that makes the movie for me.
Yeah.
That's the main reason to watch this movie is the wild in-camera effects.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And I'll leave you on this.
Okay.
Originally, another actor really wanted and was considered heavily for the role of Van Helsing. But Anthony Hopkins was coming right off the success of Silence of the Lambs from the year before. And the second he said that he wanted the role, the other person immediately lost the role. Who do you think that other person was?
I badly want it to be like Sean Connery.
You say Sean Connery, Mikey. Remember, this is 1992. Nick Cage is still very young.
Was he big? Big?
No, I would say this person is much bigger now than they were then. And
okay, so it's not Sean Connery then.
It's not Sean Connery. And they also were not much older than Nicolas Cage. It kind of surprised me to read this because they would have been fairly young at the time, too.
George Clooney?
No, although that would have been wild.
Yeah, would have.
No, it was Liam Neeson.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992?
I'm going to say 45 million.
Okay. Mikey, what do you think?
35 million.
You guys are on either side of it because it was $40 million, which if you adjust that for inflation today, that's $87.7 million. Now, this movie premiered on November 13th, 1992, and it was number 1 in the theaters the week it came out. It beat the number 2 movie, Passenger 57. Number 3 was A River Runs Through It. Number 4 was Under Siege. And number 5 was The Mighty Ducks. What do you think Bram Stoker's Dracula made in its opening weekend?
19.
Okay.
15.
Guys, it made $30.5 million in its opening weekend. It was in theaters for a total of 9 weeks domestically. So what do you think it brought in just domestically at the box office?
140.
Okay, I'm going to say 97.
Okay, Paige, you are closer. It's $82.5 million. Now, internationally, this made $133.3 million. So
Damn.
This $40 million budget movie made $215.8 million in the theaters, which if you adjust for inflation, would put that at $437.5 million.
Damn.
Yeah. This bonkers movie made money, guys.
I'm not mad at that, honestly.
Me either. I'm sad we don't have more movies like this coming out. But that is your box office. So, Mikey, do you want to hit him with that scary scale?
Yeah, our scary scale listeners is how scary we found the film today. It's a scale of 1 to 10. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, and our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Paige.
Oh, this is a 1. This is definitely a 1.
Todd.
It is absolutely a 1. Yes, not scary at all.
Same Z's, and that's our scary scale.
So this week, you guys made us watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. What are you guys making us watch next week?
So our next pick, so we did werewolves, we did vampires, we're back to werewolves again. We are watching Brotherhood of the Wolf next week.
Oh, I remember Mikey talking about this one too.
Jake watched this recently and really enjoyed it. So
okay, cool. So I guess your homework for next week is to really dig in on like a 2.5 hour werewolf movie and watch Brotherhood of the Wolf for next week.
I'm not even going to tell you anything about it because I feel like anything I say will just ruin the magic experience of watching it the first time.
You know what? I love that. But do you have a review for us to read, Mikey?
No, I forgot.
Well, while you're looking one up, let me read one of our Spotify comments. And this one came in on our Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers episode. This one came in from David, and he said, as a Polypan Ren Fair nerd, I feel seen. So, David, thank you so much for that awesome comment. And if you want me to read your comment, leave us a Spotify comment. Mikey, did you find a review?
I did.
Whose review are you going to read this week?
DJax15.
Nice. And what do they have to say?
Best horror podcast ever, all caps, with a lot of exclamation points.
Why, thank you.
I've been trying to find a good podcast to listen to pass the time at work. I randomly came across episode 1, and I've been hooked ever since. The 3 hosts do a terrific job keeping me engaged with the conversation, and unlike other podcasts, hasn't put me to sleep. only complaint I have is I have to watch the movies or rewatch if I haven't seen them in a while, not because of spoilers, but because I don't want to miss the inside jokes the group has while reviewing the movies. This show has got me loving the horror genre again. Thank you.
Well, DJax15, thank you so much for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to have Mikey read your 5-star review, leave us a 5-star review. So, guys, if you like this show but want to hear this power throuple on another movie review show about romance and romantic comedies, check out Romancing the Pod, where Mikey, Paige, and I break down and make fun of romantic movies. It's a lot of fun, guys. Check it out. If you want to follow us on social, please do. We are at Horror Virgin or online at horrorvirgin.com. If you want to follow us all individually, you can do that as well. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Twitter, or Rampage Wesley everywhere else, including TikTok. Mikey is at mrandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome. If you like the show so much and you want to help financially support it, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where you can get a lot of great levels and a lot of great stuff like bonus episodes, director's cut episodes where they're a little bit longer and you get them actually a day earlier than the regular feed drop. We do a lot of great things like listener requests and stuff like that. So guys, check out the Patreon and help support the show.
If you want to financially support me, but not Todd, just look me up on Venmo.
If you can't financially support the show, that's understandable. That's fine. But if you want to hang out with us on the daily, join the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/horrorvirgin. We also link it like once a week. So just find it there and join the awesome Facebook group. Literally, we're in there talking every day. It's awesome. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out our Twitch stream, we're at twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, where we will be playing horror video games. So if you have always wondered what it would be like to watch me get scared, you can now do that on Twitch while I play these horror games. It's twitch.tv/Todd Awesome, guys. Check it out. It's a lot of fun for you. Not a lot of fun for me. This episode was brought to you by Tia, and Tia's teenager's been like driving her crazy this week. So how is Tia's teenager driving her crazy this week, guys?
She keeps making out with Gary Oldman.
Honestly, I get it. But as long as it's young Gary Oldman, when he's like old vampire butt crack on the head Gary Oldman, avoid.
Yes.
Gross. But this episode's also brought to you by Jonathan, and Jonathan wants me to force you guys to watch some videos that he sends us every week. And this week, he sent us this video from TikTok. Oh.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. This is funny.
Yeah, I love this. It's Jason from the New York one.
Jason Tex Manhattan.
See, what I wanted was for his mask to come up and for it to be Mariah Carey.
I thought it would be, yeah. I do like how it's, Mariah Carey's song on the radio that they're blasting as he kicks it. Very funny. Mm-hmm. But Jonathan, thank you so much for that video, and thank you so much for the support. We appreciate it. We now return you to another episode of the Patreonicals.
Here we are.
Yep, here we
Back
go.
into this big car chase, Mad Max style. Edward is on his loudspeaker because he's the bad guy.
Right.
With the, Emotion Joe.
Immortan Joe.
I'm pretty sure we did go with Emotion Joe, though.
Yeah.
He was very sad a lot.
Yeah. Well, he's like, y'all are going to die. And then so the heroes are racing to a tanker truck that's crashed full of water that they need water for to live or whatever.
It's like the desert. Yeah. Like everyone needs water. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're doing that. So they launch a bunch of let's get some names out. Wes, the handsome dude, he gets very close, and Sunzi, who's playing the guitar that shoots fire, is like, you guys should shoot pop their tires. It's like a good, that's a good way to do stuff. And they're like, shut up, Sunzi, just keep playing the guitar. And so James Aries like, no, that's a good idea. I have my car with with fucking Sexcalibur on there. And Sexcalibur's like, yeah. What happened to Jay's pack? What did I do with Jay's pack?
I'm pretty sure he's like a fanny pack on somebody at this point.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a fanny pack.
Hey, say that so I can cut out me explaining to you your thing.
Well, I don't know what it is. What's an R thing? This is a collaboration, really.
You can't use that to blame us for you not knowing.
Jay's pack is on Libby, who's in charge of this whole thing, and she pulls out a bunch of caltrips. I think that's how you say that, right?
Sure, but I know what you're talking about. It's like little road spikes you could throw down.
Yeah. So like you should throw them. And so Isaac's trying to carry him up, and Kate's using her psychic powers to carry a bunch, and then Libby's still just like going in her fanny pack and just throwing. It's a lot to get out. Erin, she's actually taking a break. She's building more bow and arrows for the team because they don't have any guns, and they don't like that. Driscoll is he's crying because he hasn't been outside of his. He really liked his Iron Man armor, so he is like curled up in a ball in the cab next to Libby, just crying
because he misses being Iron Man.
Yeah,
I get it.
He does miss that.
I get it, man.
Karun and Natasha have their own large war school bus full of their children, and then they keep launching them out in like little cars to create their army. They're just making kid armies so fast.
They're like the lower rank dudes that would jump from the big cars to the small cars to make them crash. Like, my blood is gasoline.
Witness
those
me.
Guys.
Yeah.
Instead of being like powdery white, they're blue.
Yeah. Mr. Rage Bomb's using his fireworks to like blind the bad guys. And Wes, he's one of the bad guys, and he's like, I can't say anything. It's terrible. And Boezy goes over to Wes and throws one under Wes's tire, and it pops, and he throws away. He's like, it works. He's like, we got to get this water for my girlfriend, Allie, the mermaid, who needs water now because her mermaid powers are all fucked up in this new world. And so...
and she real thirsty.
Yeah, she's real thirsty. Jeremy, he's like, I have an idea, and he rips his own eyes out and starts bleeding profusely and passes out. And we're like, wow,
that was his idea?
Yeah. And then Madeline, the jester, she's coming up, and she's like...
hang on. Is that really what happens?
That's what happens.
Okay.
That's a setup for next time.
I mean, I assumed it was.
Yeah. So anyway, Vixen Avery's shooting her machine gun. She's the only person with machine guns. And she's like, I'm not giving you guys any ammo. But so she shoots the machine guns a little bit, but she's like, I got to conserve ammo. Throw the caltrips or whatever. So they throw them. Everybody splats or whatever. Their tires pop, and they're able to get to the water truck and get a bunch of water. And Edward's like, oh, change all the tires. So they're changing all the tires. And that's River Moon before the end, though, a post-credit scene, if you will.
Oh, no. I love that we're now having post-credit scenes.
It's just because I forgot to name her in the beginning.
I know.
She went over to Jeremy, and she like just pours fucking essential oils and fungus into his eye sockets. It's like, we gotta, help the wound. He's like, it's so much pain. He wakes back up in pain and passes out again because she hurt him more, and that's how the story ends.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait till next week to find out what River Moon poured on his eyes to do whatever's gonna happen to him on another episode of
the Patreonicals. And that's gonna be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah.
Have a great week.
Bye, vampire sexy nerds.